Hey, everybody, welcome back to Break the Box podcast. I know it has been an incredible year, and we're still jumping into some conversations with more young adults of just what God is doing in this season and this generation. Today, I have a super cool guest who I actually have kind of known from a distance for a little while. I know some of his mom and his sister and family members, but I just recently got to meet him in person, and I just have been so blown away at what God is doing in a 21-year-old who just is on fire for the Lord. So, Break the Box, will you help me welcome Jacob Bravo to the podcast today? What up, Jacob?
Going on, you guys? How's it going?
So happy to have you. You even have like that grown man voice, dude. I love it. I think that 21, it just goes like from hi to like hello. I love it. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm so blessed to have you on here. Like I said, I've watched you from a distance. I've seen you on social media. I also run with a lot of young adults, and I've heard like there's this kid, Jacob, and he like really loves Jesus. And so when we got to meet at the young adults, it wasn't the outing, but like your young adult night at Water of Life, I was just so blown away by your heart. Like I don't know if you knew this, but I was sitting kind of towards the back so I could like see you and your friends during the service, and y'all were just like in it and worshiping. And I'm a big like there's got to be like proof in the pudding. Like if someone says something about someone, I want to see it for myself, right? And I remember kind of like seeing you walk in, and I was like, hey, I think that's Jacob. And then during the service, like you and your friend were just like in it, and it was cool because I felt like all the things I had heard about you were clearly true. Like you really were genuinely had this relationship with Jesus. But we all know nobody's perfect. We don't all like come out the womb like Jesus is king, right? So, will you talk a little bit about like what your life was like before Christ and like what was that thing that changed that kind of helped you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for the introduction. I greatly appreciate it. And it's
Yeah.
a pleasure meeting you and being on here as well. But yeah, well, I am 21, so the life before a 21-year-old was not this
Yeah.
Christ-like now, you know.
Hmm.
But just growing up, I had two beautiful parents. They
Hmm.
were they were they met at a very young age. They were like high school sweethearts. They had my sister when they were 16. They had me roughly about that. I don't know the math, but
Yeah. They
they
were
they
younger.
yeah, for sure. They gave us a good upbringing though. They
Hmm.
provided for us. They gave us all of our essentials, our necessities. They taught us great morals and stuff, life principles and stuff, and they showed us what love looked like for sure. Like they was always there. My dad was for every sport outing. My mom was like that mama bear and stuff that you needed
Yeah.
and stuff. But at a very young age for me, they actually went through a divorce. I think I was in about like maybe the third grade or fourth grade. It was elementary for sure. And my sister was already off to college,
Hmm.
playing soccer in Minnesota. So it was just really me at the household dealing with the divorce and stuff. And,
Yeah.
with the divorce, it's no fruitful coming out of that for the most part. So
That's hard.
yeah, so I mean, just seeing the hardships and struggles each individual parent was going through, like my mom being
Hmm.
a very emotional state, my dad being a very emotional state, but their emotions being very different
Yeah.
outputs and how they handle them.
Hmm.
I feel like my dad struggled with a lot of anger and and just resentment and stuff. So like he would take it out on anyone or anything about him because he was damaged and stuff. He was hurt and stuff, and
Yeah.
sometimes hurt people hurt people. So
Hmm.
that was a very cloudy season over my life, and I just felt like a ping pong ball going back and forth between my parents and stuff. Like I feel like there was always just fighting and stuff, and it was just not healthy. And then when I would go to school, I would hear about all my friends talk about their families and them going to amusement parks or eating family dinner, and I was like so embarrassed because like I didn't have that at home. Like my household looked completely different. Like I would go home and it would be like my mom leaving in the middle of the night after she puts me to bed and me not knowing where she goes and me being too scared to like even ask where she's going, and then my dad just having a bad day or whatever that is, and it was just never good. But despite all that, we gradually walked that out unit, and eventually over time it got better. It was definitely rocky and stuff.
Hmm.
But I carry on to middle school. I went to a very good middle school. It was some intermediate over there in Rancho, and it was very good. It was a nice community. It was good friends, good people. I was surrounded around the good people, and yeah, over time the divorce situation eventually got settled. Like we got a schedule and all that. My parents finally came of agreement for the most part. They definitely still butted heads, but it was a lot more peaceful than when it
Yeah.
started. And
Hmm.
my sister's still gone, so I'm still dealing with all this, like pretty alone. I feel like I'm like the only kid at this point.
Yeah.
But we go on to high school, and this is kind of when, you know, I had a friend group in middle school that was a good circle and stuff, and then when in high school, I tried out for the football team. And when you meet certain people that you think are cool that you've never even like
Uh,
recognized before, like I fall in love with this, and they started introducing me to a whole different lifestyle and stuff. And
yeah,
here comes the partying, here comes the smoking, here comes the drinking, here
yeah,
comes the woman, here comes even just the language and just how I carry myself as an
sure,
individual. So,
sure.
like I gained like a new identity from like what my parents, like the identity my parents have given me and stuff. So the typical high school influence, I would say, football kid, all of it, just fitting the stereotype. So my freshman year, walking out high school and stuff, I ended up getting in a relationship my sophomore year, and in high school, you think you find your love of your life, and
The
hey,
love of
props,
your life.
props to the people who do, man. You guys been there
Mhm,
through the mud, but as usual, I was that kid who was like, okay, I found the one, like this is gonna be it. And in the beginning, obviously everything's sunshine and rainbows, but over time, it's just a toxic high school relationship that's just like controlling, manipulative, just like
mhm,
just all wrong stuff. Like there's no fruit out of it. I mean, and I wasn't even a Christian. Oh, and let me say this before we move on. Like my family, we weren't Christians. We were just holiday pop-ins, I like to say. Like we just went to church on
mhm,
like Christmas, Easter, and honestly, like kid you not, I wouldn't even know like what was going on. Like I just knew
mhm.
like you could just wear a cross and like that was like God.
That was
I
Christianity. Yeah.
I didn't even understand Jesus was God. I didn't understand the Trinity. I didn't understand anything. So
Mhm,
and like the one fun fact that I do remember is they broke the news to me about Christmas as a kid, like that, that Santa isn't real. So I was like, oh, okay. So the church, that's one vivid memory I do have of the church. So
okay.
amen to that.
Was that like a children's ministry worker or something? Or like someone was like, Santa ain't real. That's a lie.
It was in a children's ministry class while my
Okay.
parents but I was like, okay. And I went home so mad, but whatever. But yeah, so just carrying on to high school, it's just like a
Mhm,
repetitive. I'm just, and not even to say, because I still associate with the friends I have today, but we're just all just in the midst of high school fun and stuff. And
sure.
um, it's not until I graduate and I'm going into my freshman year at Chafee, and my girlfriend at the time, who I thought we would never like leave, because I told myself like I would never leave her, and then she
Mhm,
obviously said the same. But until she broke up with me, I lost myself. I would say like I put my identity in another individual, which now we know we can never do. We only live for one living thing, and our living God, and put our identity in Him and trust. So when you put your
mhm,
identity in someone else or even something else like
mhm,
materialistic or whatever the world inherits and stuff, you lose the image of yourself and stuff. And especially as a Christian, if we put our identity aside, we lose the image of the cross in Him. So
mhm,
I really saw that and how destructive that was of me. I started drinking even more. I started smoking even more. I started participating with women even more. I started just doing all types of worldly stuff. I feel like
yeah,
it was just of the world. Like people would see me and they just saw a glimpse of the world and stuff. And it was just I
mhm,
started disobeying my parents more. I feel like our relationship with my parents started being more rocky and stuff. And I was just in a dark hole for about like 7 months or so. And it was repetitive. I felt like lost. I felt like there was no hope. I was tired of it, but like that was all I know, because there was like only one, like it was like an antidote. Like this is the only thing I could rely on during this time. Like
yeah.
nighttime comes, it's just like, I'm gonna be under the influence, and then daytime it's just like I'm gonna be hungover.
Mhm,
I was still going to school. I was still had my priorities straight for the most part. And it was until my freshman year of college, the whole semester goes. It's the first semester. The whole semester bypasses, and on the last day of that class, it was a psychology class. We had finals, and typically in college, whenever you finish your finals, you could just get up and leave. So this girl who I'd never talked to got up and left, and I was like I had seen her, and then I finished about maybe 10 minutes later. And while walking to my car, she was in the pathway with her friend talking, and then on the pathway, she kind of was like, "Hey, how do you think you did on the final?" And then I was like, "Oh, hopefully good, because I need to pass this to be able to pass the class." So we just started talking. She just started asking me like just normal questions, and we ended up sitting down, like the four of us, and we're just all like, meeting each other and stuff. And because like Chafee, honestly, like there's like no social life. Like everyone just
Yeah.
goes there, does their stuff and dips. I'm like, bruh.
Hmm.
And that was also not the college I really wanted to go to because I had stood back home because I was in a relationship. So I was like so miserable at Chafee. I was like, bro, there is no way I'm going to Chafee.
Hmm.
But God works in miraculous ways because with that conversation I was just talking about, she was just asking me like, so what do you do for fun? And I was like, oh, I go to the club, I drink, I do all types of stuff. I was like, what do you do? And she's like, oh, not really. She was like, I just hang out with my family and this, that. And I was like, okay, what music do you listen to? And she was like, just saying like, like just Christian songs, like good music. And I was like, at the time I didn't even know. And she was like, what music do you listen to? I was like, oh, I like YoungBoy a lot. Like, I'm not sure if you know who YoungBoy is, but very worldly man for
Yeah.
sure. And at this point in the conversation, I'm like, okay, we are two different people. You are talking to the wrong person. Like,
Yeah.
we have the same interests. Like, we are just wasting conversation. But it was not until like she just kept pursuing, I feel like, in that conversation, and she
Mhm.
just kept going. And she ended up we ended up going bowling as a little class. But she had mentioned this young adult night. Well, she went to a private Christian school as well, and for high school, it was called it was something Ontario Christian and Western Christian,
Mhm.
and her dad was like a youth pastor. So I was like, okay, dude, this is not the typical girl I've talked to in my life. Like even just like as a friend, like I have no
Mhm.
friends, like I've never even heard about someone talking about God with me. Like this just never
Yeah.
came across. So we ended up going bowling as a class like maybe a month later. Like it took a while in the making. And at bowling, she had told me, she was like, hey, would you ever be interested in to go into a young adult night with me? And I was like, what is that? She was like, it's basically just like an outing of just like the ages of like 18 through like 25, 30. They just come out to and they just worship God just as a unit. It's like not a whole church congregation of like all ages and stuff, but
Mhm.
it's just adults who are in the same season. Yeah. When she said young adults in the same season, I was like, okay, so it's gonna be people my age who I could relate to. So that's what
Yeah.
caught my eye. I feel like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go and just talk to people because I'm definitely a people person. Like I love meeting
Mhm.
people, love talking to people.
Yeah.
It was no God intent there, like at all. Like I had no
Yeah.
purpose of finding God.
Yeah.
And it was at Haven City Market. I'm not sure if you ever heard of the ministry called
Yeah.
it's actually not going on nowhere, but I actually have like for the viewers could obviously see, right? It's like
Yeah.
Yon,
Oh, how
yeah.
cool.
It's
What does
pretty
it stand for?
honestly, it was like I don't know. Caden had his own little saying. Like I was beginning my walks. I didn't even pay
Okay.
attention that. So yeah, but yeah, I remember I went that night and I was going just like, and it was a Friday night, which is so crazy to me because I had plans every Friday night. And like, I would never had committed to this if I had plans that night to go party or whatever.
Mhm.
But for some reason, I didn't have plans that Friday night. So I called my only Christian friend. His name was Nathan Bosta. I went to high school with him. And I was like, dude, there's like this little Christian event that's going on, bro. You must know something about it. You should come with me. And he came with me, man. And we went and I went in there with purpose of just finding, just social life and stuff
Mhm.
and found a whole new purpose, I would say.
Wow.
I would be lying to you if I told you if I remembered everything Caden said that night, like in the sermon just wise, like taking notes or anything. But I do remember one vivid thing that he said towards the end of the message. It was like, if you came in here with something tonight that you felt like could never leave your shoulders, come up to come up to the altar, raise your hand, give your life to Christ, and just see what that could do for you. He was like, it just takes that one step of obedience or sacrifice of raising your hand or stepping forward and seeing how God can redeem your story or anything. I was like, shoot. I was like, I mean, hey, this is a good advertisement. I was like, it sounds good. I want to leave
Yeah.
these doors new because I am drained. I'm so tired of the party life. Like,
Yeah.
it's so repetitive. Like, there's no point of it. Like, it's literally the same thing over and over. I'm like, dude.
Sure.
So, and I looked at my friend. I was like, dude. I mean, I was shy. It was like a room probably of 300 people, and I was like, I can't raise my hand. And he was like, I feel like you're getting called. He was like, raise your hand if you feel it, man. He was like, take the extra step. So, I raised my hand. That was the first sign of sacrifice. And he was like, okay, now if you're raising your hand now, take that next step. And then he was like,
Mhm.
the altar. And at this point, I was like too far in. Like my whole friends were looking at me, so I was like, okay. I'm
Yeah.
going, and sometimes it takes your friend's faith, like that's gonna give you
Mhm.
faith and stuff, and that's exactly what they did that night and stuff, and I'm so appreciative for it. And
So cool.
so I went
I
up to the
love that. Yeah, keep going.
altar, and he had asked me to get on my knees, and he just started praying for me, and which I now know prophesying over me for my walk and my future and stuff. And I
Mhm.
just words like, God just wants a relationship with you. God just wants to
Yeah.
be invited into life with you and stuff. And he was like this is the first step and stuff. And it was just like this is the new journey and stuff. And the worship looked so beautiful after that. Like seeing these people just devote their bodies as living sacrifices in the holy temple and stuff, and just lifting and just proclaiming and praising. It was like
Mhm.
I wanted to feel what they were feeling. Like
Sure.
I, I didn't want to miss out on whatever that was. And
Mhm. That's
so
so
I
cool though.
left that room. Yeah, it was beautiful. I left that room, and I was just on fire. Like I just felt like a little bit of transformed already. Like I felt like
Mhm.
I lost certain desires already. Like I tasted and seen his goodness already and stuff.
Mhm.
And literally after that the event ended, we left the sanctuary, and I actually saw some other people I went to high school with there. And I remember his name is actually Darian Jackson and Brian. Darian was in my senior year class. He was always in the back of the class doing something, just reading and stuff. And it turns out it was actually his Bible every class.
Mhm.
And at that event, and then he came up to me. He's like, "Jacob, what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Man,
He's like, "You here? Okay."
what are you doing here?" And I was like, "Man,
Yeah.
I'm here." And he was like, "Dude, you got to come to these young adults with me on Thursday night, which was Water Life."
Oh,
And
wow.
he was like, everyone from E.71 comes, man. He was like, people would love to see you there. And I was like, okay. So we exchanged information, and I went home that night. He texted me a long paragraph how he was so great to see me there, and like, it just gave me encouragement. Like, dang, like
Wow.
it's a thing. It's not just like this God guy, but like these
Right.
people see too. So I committed to that Thursday. Actually, I committed to Hillside on Monday with the girl that invited me, and then I found more community there. They told
Mhm.
me to go Thursday, found more community there.
Wow.
And then, oh well, before I go on, that Friday after I went to not a party but a kickback with my high school friends, and
Mhm.
as soon as I got there, I was like, yo, like, I just gave my life to Jesus. Like, I don't even understand it really, but I know this is a greater good. And they were like, okay, like, it's so funny thinking about it now. And they're like, take a shot. And I was like, nah, like, I don't even want that no more. Like,
Wow.
it was like, I literally lost so many desires. And ever since that day, like, I haven't drank, I haven't smoked, I haven't done anything. And it's like,
Wow.
I'm so sober of that nature and stuff.
Sure.
And
So
like,
you felt like that night you didn't just have like a coming to Jesus moment, like something reset for you. Like you physically, I mean, I'm sure there were still struggles, right? But it
yeah,
wasn't just that I prayed a prayer and then that was it. Like something shifted in the way that you were thinking now, or you were like, for some reason, I don't want the same things that I used to want. Isn't that crazy?
yeah. And it's like, it's
Hmm.
so amazing to see, like, he can change your desires in that
Yep,
instance. Just
totally.
witnessing this and stuff, like,
That's so cool. But also like talk first of all, thank you for sharing that. Like there's a lot, I think a lot of people listening to this will relate to so many pieces of your story. Divorce and going through struggles in your home is so common today. It's like, 85% of people have faced that. And I think sometimes we forget how much like even relationships like a divorce or a separation or even just trauma at home or trouble at home, it affects everybody in the home, right? Like it's not just the adults that get affected, it's you guys who are having to watch that live out and feel the effects of frustrations that sometimes get misdirected towards you because that's just what's happening. And so it's like I'm not in any way, encouraging that behavior, but I understand why you probably felt like you needed to go to some of these things to cope because it's like when you have a space that doesn't feel safe and your brain is going crazy and you're trying to figure out how to just, make it in life, we're kind of naturally wired to go, what can I do to escape all this stuff, right? And like parties and hanging out with people and drinking, like those are coping mechanisms that we use to kind of like forget what's actually the reality every day, right? But what I always tell people your age is like, it's very normal to want to find something to cope, but there are better and healthier things to help us cope. And that's Jesus, right? And I know that sounds so cliche for some people, but the truth is at the end of the day, he's the only one that can reset. You said it yourself, partying and doing that circle, it's the same thing. It's boring. You wake up the next day, the problem's still there. You go and you do it again, you wake up, nothing has changed. It's almost just like this unhealthy cycle, right? But when you give your life to the Lord, he actually begins to reset some things on the inside of you. It doesn't mean your situation always changes instantly, but it also means that now you have somebody fighting for you and bringing you peace and bringing you hope. That is worth more than any cool party you're ever going to go to, right? And so I love that, like, you walk through that. So there's so much relation that you can relate to people, but you also genuinely just have this heart now to go, okay, God, like, I want this change. So you get saved. You're now like starting to serve the Lord. You're having community, right? How did you get to the place where like now you're so committed? Because, there's always like a little season of like, hey, I'm committing, but now I'm like really in this, right? Like, what was that thing that kind of pushed you to keep going and to stay consistent?
Honestly, yeah, like, it's never like your whole walk as a Christian. I tell everyone I
Mhm.
know now, it's harder to be a Christian than it's
Mhm.
harder to be of the world. Like
Sure.
every day I have to say no. With the world, it's just I go with the flow. What comes at
Yeah.
me, I take part of, and that's all I know and stuff. But as a Christian, we're living for a greater good and eternal in eternity and stuff.
Come on.
But how am I here now? Man,
Because I mean,
so
like you're like a go-getter. Like I've heard you go to like every Bible study, you go to a bunch of young adults groups, you even run your own Bible study. Like, how did you get to this point where you went from like giving God a chance, right? And him going, okay, I got this, let me help you, to like where you're really in it and now you're leading other people to come follow.
I feel like my family is a big one. Like I
Yeah,
do a lot of it for my family because I just want to make them proud and stuff, and I want to show them like there is a way out of whatever
sure.
situation that we're in. But I have to give so much credit to my brothers, like my best friends and stuff, and even my sisters and stuff. Like I met I met well, I went to high school with two of these guys. Their names are Jerron and Brian, and we weren't friends in high school. We knew of each other, but honestly, Brian, I know Brian's gonna watch this. He was like a nerd that I would never take part with and stuff. And Jerron was just like a part of this other friend group. But we met at Thursdays on Water of Life and stuff, and we
Mhm.
reconnected there. And the accountability and the brotherhood that we built together
Come on.
and the heart of fire that they had, because Brian was raised in a Christian home his whole life and stuff.
Mhm.
We all love just taking, fellowship together and stuff. So we branch out and we love just talking to people and talking about God now and stuff. So we just like to branch out to anywhere we go. Like,
Love it.
we always say that God is so much bigger than just one building and stuff. So,
Come on.
he's the big C at the end of the day, the big church.
Hmm.
So, church
Yeah,
is anywhere. We can have church in this room. So I just
that's
love
right.
his children. I love being able to talk to them. And I just like that's my fuel and stuff. And I just want to be, I just want to equip myself as much as I can and gain all the fruit as I can, when I'm a parent and stuff. And I want to hear everyone's testimonies because I feel like that could groom me into something and stuff. And
Absolutely. So for
it's stuff,
you, you would say like community was the thing that held you the best. Like that was the thing that kept you going and kept you plugged in even when like life still was maybe having crazy moments.
yeah, for sure. Community is what keeps me on fire. I think like just
Love it.
accountability and just we have fun. Like this stuff's
Yeah.
fun. Like honestly,
Yeah.
like I love that. I love going to church. So
Yeah. I know you look really happy with your friends. Like even
yeah,
like not in a creepy way, but like observing everyone, right? Like I could tell y'all were not, were it wasn't like overly religious, like
yeah,
Jesus. And we
yeah.
like y'all was like joking and bantering and having fun and worshiping Jesus. And I think sometimes that's what your generation misses is they see church as like if I go to church, I have to look a certain way. I have to fit in a certain box. I have to act like a certain adult. No, you actually just get to be you. Like you can go hang out with your homies. You can go have laughs. You can enjoy life. We just get to do it with the Lord. And so I love that your generation is showing that because I'll be honest, like I grew up in church my whole life, right? And I love Jesus and I love the church. But there's definitely years where I'm like, it felt a little like maybe over religious at times, like if you didn't have a certain look, like back in the day, we could never wear jeans or like we had to dress up all the time. It was like, I mean, dude, I went through like years of like dresses and heels. It was like really painful. But I remember the day, it's so funny. I'm going to mention this. I remember the day I went to my dad, like my dad's been a pastor his whole life, right? I was like in my 20s and I went to my dad and I said, I have a question for you. And he was like, yeah, for sure. And I said, don't you preach that you want to be a church that has a space for everybody? The people who feel like they don't belong, the people who feel like they just would never fit, like the people, the outsiders. Don't you always say that? And he would be like, yeah. And I said, then don't you think that we should dress like some of the people that maybe we're trying to attract instead of wearing suits and dresses every week? And he was like, well, but we wear our best for Jesus. And I was like, and I respect that. I was like, but don't you think like if you want somebody on the street who's just wearing jeans and a tee to feel like they belong, shouldn't we wear some jeans and tees sometimes? And I remember at first he was like, that's actually a pretty good. He was like, I never thought about that, right? Like at first he was like, I don't know. But then over time, he literally was like, you're right. We should give people the freedom. If they want to dress up, great. If they don't, they don't. Like let them have that choice, right? And so we just slowly started making that adjustment. As soon as we started going to a more casual community, we started seeing way more people come in that we were praying for that looked like everyday people. And they would be like, dude, it's okay to wear jeans. I'm like, yeah. Like, and then now that's just normal, right? Like for your generation, that's just normal at churches. But I lived the years where like, that was like, you walked in jeans, let alone ripped jeans. It was like, oh, we need to pray for you, you know? It was very different. It was very different. So all of that to say, I'm glad that your generation is showing that like Jesus is normal. He's cool. He isn't expecting you to look a certain way. He just wants you to be you, right? So how do you do that? Like, how do you handle it? Like, I'm sure you have friends that still party. I'm sure you have people around you, maybe even family members who aren't serving the Lord yet. Like, how do you keep showing them Jesus when you don't have that support all the time around you?
Yeah. I feel like, some of the best way to show Jesus in like not even such a religious way
Hmm.
is just bear the fruit that he tells us to bear. Just being like, just being like a happy person. And sometimes, my pastor, because I'm not sure if you know, but I actually go to Patria,
Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
or
You're
Abundant
just at
Living.
all the churches, huh?
That's my Sunday church because that's where my dad and my family go. So I go
Mhm.
there with them to spend the
Okay.
Sundays with them. But most of my community is out of Water Life. Like that's where like all of our young adults are at and stuff. But Pastor Diego
Okay.
always says like, sometimes the best way to show Jesus is to just show like how he's made you a good person and stuff. And someone
Mm,
will recognize that and be like, why is that person so nice? Like why is that person so good? Like
mhm.
there's something different about them than the ordinary person. And then like after that step, you tell them about Jesus and stuff.
Mhm.
So I would say that a lot for me, yeah. But
That's awesome.
I try to like everywhere I go, everyone knows I'm a Christian. I post about him all the time. But like even at
Yeah.
my past 21st birthday, I even had a worship. Like I had worship set at my birthday and stuff. So like everyone was
Come on, Jacob.
like this is not normal. Like my co-lead, her name is Brooklyn. We lead the small group together. She pulled me aside after and was like Jacob, I just want to honor you so much because this is not the typical 21-year-old party. Like you have unbeliever friends here, you have unbeliever family here, and you're
Mhm.
taking time out of your day to give glory back to God and stuff. Like this
Yeah.
is something else. Like and we took about like maybe 15 minutes of worship and I prayed for everyone and stuff and it
Love it.
all goes back to God. Like all the glory, the only reason I got to this 21 is by the grace of him and stuff. So everyone needs to see that and everyone needs to understand that he does love everyone through their trials and tribulations
Yeah.
and I feel like that's the best way to get to them. So
I love that. So, like showing it in the fruit of how you treat people, how you honor him, what choices you make, right? But at the end of the day, God has to be real for you. Otherwise, your generation can smell fake a mile away, right? Like you guys are the first ones to be like, nah, that ain't it, you know? And so I think your authenticity, I mean, dude, having a birthday with like Jesus and worship is pretty epic. Like, but that shows that it's real for you. And I think that's how you will win your generation and even those to come is not even just by the Sunday services. It's by showing up at a birthday and like, this guy actually really believes that spending time with Jesus is worth it right now, you know? And so I love that, dude. I love that your heart is so genuine. I love that you care so much about community because I believe community is how we stay plugged in, how we don't fall off track because you need a friend to be like, where you at? Where you been? What's going on? Like we need that, right? But you also have such a good heart for people. And I love that. I think that to me is a big fruit that I see in you You genuinely care for people and want community, and that's Jesus. Like that's Jesus for days, right? Like he would see people and want to spend time with people and hang out with the people who didn't feel like they fit in, and like you are a very people person, but I think that's the part of Jesus that really does show in your life. And so that's so cool, dude. I love that. I love just like your heart for the Lord and how you're going through it, cuz I mean you're 21, so you still have a lot of life to live, right? But God's not worried about the piece where like there was all the stuff. He's just excited about where you're at today and like moving forward. And so I kind of want to close with this question then. Like, what is like, where do you see yourself? Like, where is God leading you in this season? Do you feel like a call of God on your life? Like, what do you see for your future?
I feel like every Christian's called to ministry for the rest of their lives. We're
Mhm.
every day we have to serve God and stuff, and make disciples of all nations and stuff. Like it's a command. It's like a
Come on.
responsibility as a Christian. So,
Sure.
um, we all have calling, but for
Hmm.
me personally, I feel like my calling is a little more further in this extent in this field. I'm pursuing law enforcement actually, so I want to bring Christ to people's worst days and stuff. I want to bring Jesus, a Jesus like figure, Jesus like a vessel, and
Hmm.
even Almighty God Himself, to the people who are struggling on their worst days, and to even, I mean, to bring justice, of course, because God is not no pushover. Like we have to have order and stuff, but um, I just want to be a light for that, and I just want to bring everything I inherit from Him to the people maybe who don't get that opportunity to hear
Sure.
Him, see Him, or anything. And that's my biggest command and stuff. That's my biggest calling. I feel like over my life, like the career is so hated, honestly. Like the world sees law enforcement as such a certain
Hmm.
way and stuff, and
Hmm.
I love that challenge and stuff.
Hmm.
People see me a certain way, all that. Well, I'll pick that challenge up any day, and I will go ride with him because I know God's with me and stuff. So,
Come on.
um, I feel like that's one very evident call I have. But yeah,
So cool. I love that. And that's the thing is like, we shouldn't shy away from the thing we do feel called to do because I believe this, if you're called for something, God will give you the grace to do it, right? And so if that's the avenue that God has for you, he's not going to set you up for failure. Of course, we make good decisions, we keep staying plugged in, we keep those communities, but at the end of the day, you're right, we're supposed to take the light into all the places of the world, right? And so we can't be like, "Nah, that's kind of not really like a Christian people group." Like, no, then we should be up in there trying to make that some more Christians up in that group, right? And so I love that for you, dude. Well, I just want to say this, like, this is just the start for you, man. Like, I know you probably feel so grown. I know when I turned 21, that was like such a big moment, and you are definitely a young man, and I love that for you. But I just want to even speak this over you. Like, I believe that this is just a something that God has sparked, obviously, in your life to make such an impact on your generation. And I pray that in 25 years, we're having another conversation of like all the things God has done through your life to continue to show his love because you're such a beautiful example that God's not looking for perfect homes and perfect families and perfect kids. He's just looking for people who he can love and he can love through. And I think you even just sharing that is so beautiful. I think so many people are going to hear that and be like, dang, that's kind of how I grew up too. Or dang, I was in the same boat. But also seeing you thrive and lead a Bible study, I think will encourage people that God still wants to use you and he needs you and he loves you. So thank you so much for coming on and taking a few minutes just to share a little bit of your story. I really appreciate it, dude. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on you because I think God's got some really good things coming. So I just really appreciate it. Thanks so much for coming on.
it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, break the box. Well, that's it for today. We love y'all. I hope that you got a little nugget of truth and got encouraged today. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.